It's a start of a brand new week. Good morning and welcome to NewsDesk. We'll start with Ghana's debt restructuring program with its official creditors because it has officially come to an end. Stay with us because we'll hear from the Finance Minister, Mohamed Amin Adam, who says government has successfully restructured $5.1 billion with external creditors. Also in this bulletin, newly laid affirmative action bill suffers setback in Parliament as former minority leader Haruna Idrisu says the bill is replete with unconstitutional provisions.
Action bill that sits well with the 1992 Constitution, or we want to pass an affirmative action bill, probably not too sure that some aspects of the bill may offend Article 1(2) of the Constitution.
We'll take you to Parliament where there is a strong push to pass the bill before the tenure of this Parliament expires. Plus, we'll tell you about the call for one man, one woman in marriages and the opposition by some male Muslim MPs.
Seeing that we achieve this equality is marriage. One man, one woman. One man, one woman.
So to allow these words to stay in the Hansard will be repugnant to my Muslim values, belief and practice.
Also in this bulletin, Norton MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has officially written to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust demanding evidence of Rock City's GRA tax clearance certificate as he challenges its validity due to their unfiled tax returns for the year 2021 and 2022. I am Faustina Safa. Take a seat, be my guest. Thanks for choosing us for your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, Finance Minister Mohamed Amin Adam says Ghana's debt restructuring program with its official creditors has officially come to an end. According to him, not only has government restructured its $5.1 billion with creditors, but has also concluded restructuring of $13.1 billion with Eurobond holders. He spoke at the UK Town Hall meeting. Let's listen.
I already mentioned one of the measures we are putting in place to improve tax compliance. That is the faceless assessment. Faceless assessment. We're also trying to simplify the tax filing system. Because we think that people are not filing their taxes. And it is because it is not easy, it's complex. You even go to tax collectors to file your tax system, and you are frustrated. There is no education on where people even go. And so we are digitalizing also the tax filing, the filing of your returns, so that you can sit in your room and file your tax returns. That's another way of improving compliance. But also, we've noticed that people do not understand our tax system generally. And some people have differential levels of understanding. And so we have decided that we will have to do mass education on our tax system. This July, I have set it aside as the Tax Education Month. In other words, Tax Sensitization Month, July, every July. I'm going to lead the entire tax staff of our country to the field, moving from company to company, from market to market, to educate people on our tax system and what steps people need to take to pay their taxes, what steps people need to take to file their tax returns. But above all, we have decided, as part of the education, to mount billboards across the country, showing the people what their taxes are being used for. The greatest measure you can introduce to improve tax compliance is for people to know that when they pay the taxes are not wasted. when they pay the taxes, you can account for the taxes they are paying. And so very soon, we have taken videos and photos of iconic projects, key projects that have been done by the government. And we are going to place them at vantage points across the country. Your tax working for you.
Now, let me bring in a leading member of our research desk, Isaac Kofi, to understand the modalities, because also we know that the finance minister said that Ghana's debt restructuring program has officially concluded with its external creditors. Also in that meeting, he also pledged that the CD would begin to see some sort of better performance because of this restructuring program. Thank you so much, Isaac Kofi, for your time here on NewsDesk. Let's start with the modalities. How much do we owe so far?
Well, so far, for if you are talking about the external debts, we know that the current external debt portfolio is around $30 billion.
And what does this restructuring mean for us as a country?
Well, I mean, the restructuring is important. It was what we had to, meet under this IMF program, because the IMF assessed our debt levels and they tagged this as unsustainable, because there was a time, somewhere 2022, that our debt to GDP ratio was projected to hit 109% of our GDP, and that was a bit problematic for a country with a GDP of about $77 billion. Dollars. And that made it possible that we had to go through that painful restructuring to reduce our debt to GDP ratio to somewhere around 55% of GDP, maybe at the end of this IMF program. And so essentially, it's because of the ballooning debt that we had, of which about $30 billion is owed to external creditors, that forced us to go into this restructuring. And the fact that we had to engage almost all our creditors, both at the bilateral level and the commercial level. Even if you come into the domestic space, you heard the finance minister on the 6 a.m. news on Joy FM that, I mean, they saw that they made mistakes and people had to go through a lot of ordeal because they were part of this debt restructuring. They didn't know how to consult and get the right information. He even made mention that they heard and they know that people committed suicide and even people died as a result of the restructuring that government did. But he made a point that government was caring and that they were going to make funds available for bailout packages for people to also be relieved of the kind of effect that the debt restructuring has caused.
Let's look at the implications to Ghana's request to get the next tranche for the IMF loan. What does this mean for us as a country?
Hello, Fosti.
Can you hear me, Kofi? I'm hoping you can hear me loud and clear.
I'm actually struggling to hear.
I'm asking what this restructuring means for Ghana's quest to receive the next tranche of the IMF loan.
Right, so if I can hear you right, I mean, the restructuring is taking place at the external level on two different sides. We have the external commercial creditors and external bilateral creditors. And just like you said in your intro, that, I mean, Ghana has concluded, the finance minister's words, and, there's a conclusion to the debt restructuring at the external debt level. And we also know that at the bilateral level, and we also know that at the commercial level, government has made inroads in terms of restructuring $13.1 billion. But if you look at, or if you listen to the finance minister when he addressed, party folks in the UK, you realize that the initial target of $5.4 billion that we set out to restructure at the external level fell short by $300 million because the initial target was $5.4 billion. We heard the finance minister speak of $5.1 billion. So the remaining amount that was supposed to add up for us to be able to get the initial target is around $300 million. In terms of the savings, we know this is a debt moratorium, but the finance minister said that, we are able to save about $2 billion from the restructuring at the external bilateral level. When it comes to the commercial level, we know that the commercial level, the debt there is around $14 billion. But what has been earmarked for restructuring is around $13 billion. Yesterday, we heard him speak about $13.1 billion. And then he made mention of a savings of about $8 billion. So in fact, if you add the savings of $2 billion, just like you see on your screens, and $8 billion from the Eurobond side, we are talking about a savings of $10 billion, which at the moment is huge for a country like Ghana, where annually we have to pay about $2 billion, between $2 to $3 billion in terms of interest payments on our external debts alone. So for me, I think it's a good step. I mean, but the problem ahead is that we still have to engage at the bilateral level, all respective, players in this space, to make sure that we are able to get the form of consolidation that we need. It was good that we got the bilateral, guys to rope in the bilateral guys, and that has actually given us, the advantage to go ahead with the commercial, negotiations.
Thank you so much, Isaac Kofi AJ. Let me bring in Professor Lord Mensah. He's an economist and he joins us with better perspectives into the issue. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. First of all, we want to understand what the economic implication is for this debt restructuring and how it can help us better access the other tranche of our IMF facility.
Yeah, good morning to our viewers out there. The restructuring at this time, the agreement that we've gotten can only give us a signal, to the economy as far as our exchange rate is concerned, as far as, all the other economic indicators that are tied to, debt service is concerned. So talking about inflation and other things. But you see, this is just a signal. When you achieve a restructuring, it does not necessarily mean that, your economy is going to be on a good footing, in a sense that after the restructuring, you are now going to service your debt. And I'm asking myself, when, the finance minister announced the agreement that, look, we've gotten, a restructuring agreement with Eurobond holders, and at the same time, the OCC, which is the official, main creditors, commercial creditors. So effectively, if we should resume our debt payment after the, restructuring, how would the economy look like? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. But as we speak now, we are not servicing our external debt, but we can see the exchange rate, the cedi depreciating against the dollar and all the other major currencies. So after achieving this restructuring, where are we going to cough the dollars? And I heard the finance minister talk about saving Ghana about 8 billion cedis. Why did you go in for debt restructuring? You went in for debt restructuring because you don't have the money. If you have the money to save, then why did you go in for debt restructuring and in some cases restricting and suspending external debt payment? So effectively, what it tells you is that we don't have, the dollars as it's supposed to be. So let's see the realities on the ground if we should resume, our debt payment after the restructuring. But like I said, the restructuring can only give us a signal that there's hope, but it doesn't transmit into reality. We need to wait for what, the next few months will have for us.
We know that as part of the conditionalities to assess our IMF facilities, which is coming to us in tranches, we have to ensure we fix our external debt. And that's what government has done. Now, how does this improve our chances of assessing the next tranche of our facility?
Yeah, that's a good thing. At the end of the day, we need to take advantage of the fiscal space we are going to enjoy as a result of the inflows that we're getting from this program. And then also the soft, benefit, which is the credibility, having an IMF program and then restricting us on our expenditure and other things. This is the time that we're supposed to take advantage of it so that we can, reorient this economy to start producing up to a certain level, target some, short to medium term, products so we can export more to enhance our, foreign currency generation.
The finance minister was optimistic that the cedi will begin to see some sort of better performance on the international market. Do you think that is feasible?
Yeah, for the signal aspect of it, it's going to be visible. We're going to see a short-term stability, but then the reality will dawn on us when we receive the IMF inflow and at the same time, we start servicing our debt.
Professor Lord Mensah, thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. Let's do some other stories now, because it has taken years for the much talked about affirmative action bill to reach the floor of Parliament. But barely 2 weeks after the House started considering its provision, the bill has suffered another setback. Well, the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, argues that several provisions in the yet-to-be-passed legislation are unconstitutional and will be struck out by the Supreme Court if passed, while the bill pushes for equitable election of males and females to Parliament and instructs the Electoral Commission to ensure political parties comply. Now, we'll hear from the Tamale South MP shortly. First, let's listen to the ranking member on the Gender and Children Committee, Helen Adjoa, who says that this provision is important to ensure fair representation in the House.
Ghana was ranked 147th position out of 193, which is very bad. So without legislation to address cultural, economic, and political gender imbalances, I think we'll not be able to achieve, especially the SDG Goal 5. So we, the committee, we have worked tirelessly since the sixth Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Your committee has worked tirelessly for this year's past. So where we have gotten to, Mr. Speaker, is as a result of hard work. So we just want to encourage colleagues that this is a serious bill that the world have to support, because they shouldn't forget that females constitute 51.2% in this country. So if we're talking about equity in political positions, likewise decision-making processes, that women will have to have equal representation, we are very right. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to again urge members that we've gone a long way to get to where we have gotten to. The Constitution has not helped us.
But the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, says enacting any such law without first amending the Constitution will be unlawful, insisting political parties cannot be forced to field female candidates in parliamentary elections. Let's listen.
It reads, the Electoral Commission shall ensure compliance with the provisions of this Act by political parties. We are here, members of Parliament. We are all elected by political parties on the ticket of political parties to contest as members of Parliament. The law in the Constitution, if you are to quote Article 94 or any other right, that confers a right on me to vote and be voted for. How can the Electoral Commission regulate political parties that there should be parity of women? Maybe we should rather come and amend the Constitution. So, Mr. Speaker, that's why I asked the question. Yes. Should we amend the Constitution before proceeding with an affirmative action law for Ghana, or have an affirmative action law that will have trouble sitting with the 1992 Constitution? I dare ask, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, let me narrow to the political parties. Yes, political parties can morally say that in Ashanti, we want to dedicate more seats to women because we likely can project that they can be members of Parliament. Another political party can say in Volta region, in Rwanda, in Kenya, is that many of the women are appointed to Parliament, not elected. Yes. So if Ghana wants to learn, let's learn well. It is not, you cannot legislate. It's a competitive election. Tamale South, Adaklo is open. Whether male or female, go and run a competitive election and come to Parliament. That is what the Constitution provides.
Well, the bill also requires that media houses portray females in a positive light. Another provision, Haruna Idrisu says, is unconstitutional as media houses and journalists are granted the freedom over their editorial policies and do not subject that to any external control.
The primary question I'm asking, which or what should proceed what? Should it be a constitutional amendment proceeding before we consider an affirmative action bill that sits well with the 1992 Constitution, or we want to pass an affirmative action bill, probably not too sure that some aspects of the bill may offend Article 1(2) of the Constitution. Strategies in relation to employment, and it reads, promote the employment of pregnant women, even the wedding. Promote the employment of pregnant women. Why? If you were already in employment and you are pregnant, you can be protected. But if you were pregnant, and we say that, Mr. Speaker, page 32, promote the employment of pregnant women. How do you promote the employment of pregnant women? So even when we come to it, by this provision, you are saying that pregnant women should be employed. What is even more worrying is that in this bill, they refer to independent constitutional bodies. Which are the independent constitutional bodies? The Auditor General, Electoral Commission, National Commission on Civic Education, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. These are all independent constitutional bodies. And Mr. Speaker, I just take you to National Media Commission and page 27 of the bill. Mr. Speaker, it reads, the National Media Commission shall take appropriate measures to ensure that, Mr. Speaker, these are my words. No, these are the words in the report. Women are portrayed positively in the media, and that stereotype. So you cannot put this in this law, in a law, and say that a media house has a duty to portray a woman positively. The woman must merit positive reportage if she behaves positively, like any other man.
Well, meanwhile, there was controversy on the floor when Deputy Minority Whip Comfort Doyo Kujo suggested that one way to achieve gender equality is to ensure one man, one woman in marriages, a position some male MPs disagree with. Let's listen in.
But nobody is going to take over from a man. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that we achieve this equality is marriage. One man, one woman. One man, one woman. Marriage, that's all. In Ghana. Everything else in Ghana, women...
Honorable, which law is that?
I'm right.
Which law is that?
The only thing that you see that is one man...
Honorable Doyo.
I find her comment, one man, one wife, with the emphasis that this is the only solution to achieving affirmative action. Mr. Speaker, there are Muslims in Ghana, there are Muslims in Parliament. Our religious practices does not sit in tandem with her thoughts and thinking.
And what about customary law?
And even customary law, Mr. Speaker. So to allow these words to stay in the Hansard would be repugnant to my Muslim values, belief, and practice.
Away from that to other stories now, Norton MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has formally written to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust demanding evidence of Rock City's GRA tax clearance certificate as he challenges its validity due to their unfiled tax returns for the year 2021 and 2022. Well, Ablakwa argues that based on Senate's pre-qualification criteria, Rock City's bid should not have qualified. Now, Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Wiko Asante joins me in the studio with more of this petition from Okudzeto-Ablakwa. First of all, what does the RTI request, key request he's making? Walk us through it.
Well, Faustina, we know that it's been weeks and months of back and forth between Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa and the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, in particular, Agric Ministry, I should say, Brian Achampong, who is seeking to take over some state hotels, particularly Labadi Beach and some 3 other hotels. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is now saying that if you look at the eligibility criteria that was put out by SNIT, in which companies will be required to bid, some of the bids that came in, particularly Rock City Hotel, did not qualify. Let's look at the specifics of Ablakwa's petition to SNIT by way of the RTI request. It says,
okay,
he wants evidence of Rock City's GRA tax clearance certificate, as Rock City could not have produced a valid one during the tender because they had not filed their tax return for 2021 and 2022, per the provisions of the Income Tax Act 2015 Act 896 and SNIT's own pre-qualification criteria, which he attaches to this petition that he has sent. The Rock City bid should have been disqualified. That is what he says. If you look at the next slide, it says, I am further requesting a copy of the full evaluation report that will also show the minutes of all tender committee meetings that have also now been demanded. All these demands are now from Okudzeto Ablakwa. He says he expects SNIT to comply with the RTI law and submit the requested information in the spirit of transparency and accountability and as required in the pursuit of its constitutional mandate of parliamentary oversight. He shall keep the public informed as to the outcome of this, and says state capture shall be defeated. So Okudzeto Ablakwa clearly not letting this fight go. He's taking this fight straight to SNIT through the RTI request that he has made. He expects that the information will come in the next few days so that he can continue to show that Brian Achampong's companies were not qualified at the time they applied for STINA.
Well, and he's not alone, because here at Joy News, we've also filed an RTI request demanding that Senate provide us with some of this information. And as soon as we have it, we'll make it public. Now, let's stay with the North Home Member of Parliament, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, because he has hinted that next coming days in the House, the minority of Parliament will file for a parliamentary inquiry into the sale of state lands and assets, including a green belt belonging to the Department of Parks and Garden. The lawmaker claims that a 10-acre stretch of the land at Cantonment in Accra, which Parks and Gardens controlled ever since the colonial era, is now being taken over by private developers. Listen.
Documents in my possession and engagements with officials at the Department of Parks and Gardens reveal that the Parks and Gardens land situated in cantonments, land which the colonial authorities allocated since 1952 as a green belt, as a horticultural zone where very rare species of trees and other plants are nurtured. That land has been added to the long list of state assets which are being captured by marauding characters who refuse to listen to the Ghanaian people. This is a government talking about tree planting, green Ghana, and that we need to make sure that the environment is protected. And yet, it is engaged in these unconscionable transactions. We are not going to allow that.
The land you refer to is a 10.8 acre parcel of land. Don't you feel that the developers might have an environmental sustainability plan in place?
We don't care what they have. The Parks and Garden land, all 10.8 acres, must be protected, must be preserved. Even the colonialists who we criticize that they came to rape, to plunder, to steal, and to run away, even they knew that portions of our country ought to be reserved. And what saddens us is that this is happening all over the country. Go to the Upper West Regional Capital of Wa. Even efforts by the regional minister to stop those who have invaded Parks and Gardens land and are building fuel filling stations. The regional minister has been served a letter from the Lands Commission that those who are doing that, who have encroached the Parks and Gardens land, have legitimate title. And so the regional minister should back off. Can you believe that? Even the regional minister did not know that Parks and Gardens land have been given out. And I am receiving calls from all over. Go and see what's happening in the Western region. Go and see what's happening in the Volta region. This has to stop. There are some state assets that you just don't go near. It's been preserved since 1952. Why should we lose parks and gardens? Why should we lose our green belt? Why should we lose our horticultural zone? It's the only one left in the capital. Why should we lose it?
Right. And you say that you're going to call for a parliamentary probe, or is it the case that that will definitely happen? Because in your post on Twitter or X, you indicate that Parliament will, quote, soon launch an inquiry into the ongoing state capture, as you call it.
Yes, we have this. Our side of Parliament has discussed a motion which we will be filing shortly in the next few days, a motion demanding a full-scale parliamentary inquiry into the blatant state capture that is ongoing. We will haul everybody, those who are selling, and then those who are buying, those who are fronting for all kinds of characters, hiding behind the scenes, thinking that they will get away, all of them. And we would demand that it should be a live broadcast, a public hearing, so that all Ghanaians will see what is going on.
Let's take you now to Boli, because the National Security Minister, Kandapa, has called for support with information from the people of Boli to help bring to book perpetrators of the serial killing that has befallen the area. About 20 people have been murdered since 2022, causing panic in the Boli region and its environs. Well, the minister said when he paid a courtesy call to the Boli Wura Jirasafo at his palace at Boli.
Residents of Boli and its environs are currently living in fear following the unresolved murders that has taken place since 2022. Many people in the area believe these killings could be as a result of the illegal mining activities in the area. Speaking at the Boli Wura's palace, the National Security Minister Kandapa said the killing was bringing the name of the area into disrepute. He said he had charged the security agencies to bring an end to the killing.
This issue of serial killers, it is becoming too much. And to be frank, it is spoiling the good name of this kingdom. Let us work together with the security agencies, with our chiefs, with our elders, with our youth groups, and stop this very, very difficult problem of serial killings within our community. Don't let us continue to be remembered by the fact that we have serial killers among us.
The Boli Wura Jirasafo Kutufeso, on his part, said he has set up a community watchdog to support the security in the fight.
We have in our local way formed community watchdogs that will help the security to fight this canker. They know the inners and corners of the traditional area and the town that can help the security to give them vital information to arrest these people.
At the Bupe Wura's palace, the National Security Minister said his team was visiting the chief to seek their support in ensuring an incident-free election.
As we approach the elections, we count on the traditional leaders, and especially on you, Your Majesty, to help us to educate our citizens. We must never fight. We must not see ourselves as enemies. And I think they do so well in Parliament. They are the real practicing politicians.
The Bupe Wura Abdullahi Janapo called on political supporters to live in harmony, citing his children as an example of democracy.
When we talk of democracy, I think I'm proud to say that we are also, my family is a beacon of democracy. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources is a powerful small boy in NPP. John Jinapo is a powerful small boy in NDC. And people used to ask me, especially at the National Churches, what's wrong with it? Please, I think for kindness aware,
The two of them in the family are the best friends.
At the Yabon Rest Palace, the National Security Minister reiterated his call for support from chiefs to ensure a peaceful election and also to fight terrorism.
Soldiers and the help they're giving to us. This is the time Ghanaians must learn to appreciate and support the work of the security agencies. Let us give the necessary respect to the security personnel. It shouldn't happen that whatever the provocation, you should attack a police officer or a soldier or an immigration officer or an intelligence officer at this point in time. No, it won't help us as a country. The time that we really need them is now. We need them now more than ever.
Let's head now to the Karachi West Municipality because management of Karachi West Municipal Hospital say they may be forced to shut down mortuary services if the intermittent power supply to the municipality persists. The facility managers argue they currently spend about 70,000 cedis on fuel monthly. This, they say, is taking a toll of the finances of the hospital. Peter Seno visited the facility and filed this report.
The strategic location of Karachi West Municipal Hospital makes it a turn to clients from Northern Region, Sunny East and Karachi Inchomru districts, including clients from the municipality. The facility is currently bearing the brunt of frequent power outages in the municipality. Dr. Hilarious Gaje is the medical superintendent at the Karachi West Municipal Hospital. He tells us the impact of insufficient lighting at the theater during surgery sessions.
The problem with the low current or low voltage issues in the Karachi West municipality is affecting us a lot. In that sometimes during operations, then the lights are out. Sometimes the lights are on, but still we cannot actually use the energy that is coming in to support our equipment. Theater, for example, is supposed to be a very cool environment, but unfortunately, our AC sometimes they will be working, but still as we are operating, we'll be sweating, which is actually very, very bad. And when it comes to our mortuary refrigerators cannot be actually used. They can't function even sometimes when the NETCO or the energy from from the government side is on.
The facility may also be bending on its knees financially due to the low voltage and intermittent power supply to the municipality. As the hospital says, it spends nearly 70,000 cedis monthly to augment power supply to the hospital.
The facility suffers a persistent low voltage situation and sometimes intermittent power outages. This has resulted in about 70,000 monthly expenditure just on fuel to power the generator set. So, and also this has made other sectors of the service suffer, because if we have to get consumables for work at the OPD, at the wards, because these monies are being used for fuel alone, then we are unable to pay our suppliers on time. That's if we are able to pay some of them at all.
A generator set is mostly used to power the morgue to keep bodies from going bad, including other essential services. Raphael Tumau is the hospital administrator. He takes me around the facility to see the extent of damage caused by low voltage and frequent power outages.
The situation has affected the morgue and the machines at the various units. The air conditioners are breaking down. The mortuary refrigerator would not work if the main grid, which is NETCO, is on. And so if even NETCO is on, we still have to put on the generator set before our machines will work. Like I've shown you earlier, our autoclaves have broken down as a result of this low voltage. We also have to use stabilizers before any machine or gadget at all could work within the facility. And so generally, we would say that the power situation is actually affecting the facility, our finances, the quality of services we render, and also the satisfaction of our clients and staff alike.
He added if the situation does not get improved, the facility may be compelled to shut down mortuary services.
And of course, if care or immediate intervention is not given to the situation, the facility may grind down. At the point we were looking at the units that require most of our power, and so we were looking at closing down the mortuary. Of course, that will give us some relief. All things being equal, yes, we may have to call on the people who deposit their bodies, since we would have to start closing some of the units which we have been avoiding over the period. Currently, the facility is unable to continue in purchasing fuel to support service delivery, and so that could be a stage where we would get to if the situation continues or persists.
Peter Senu for Joy News.
You're still watching News Desk. We're taking a quick breather. Once we return, we'll bring you business to stay tuned in.
Hello, good morning to you. Warm welcome to the business segment on Joy News Desk. With me, Pius Kojo Baka. Banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etiahene is calling on the Bank of Ghana to enhance its tracking and monitoring of Ghana's foreign remittances. Dr. Etiahene argues that with proper oversight, remittances could generate over $8 billion annually, potentially eliminating the need for an IMF bailout. He made these insights on Beyond the Numbers here on Joy News.
You know, they always use fintech as an excuse. But the way you license fintech, you must also regulate and supervise. You supervise in compliance with the Foreign Exchange Act so that all foreign exchange captured by them, if not 100%, at least certain percentage will come into the banking system to support it. You very well said in Kenya. I have done a work on it. I mean, the latest country that is doing well is not even in Africa. About 98% of remittances are captured through the banking sector. You can go to Bangladesh and you can go to Sri Lanka, which is in the same financial crisis or debt crisis. They are capturing an average of $400 million monthly. And we are capturing, if you multiply 400 million, multiply by 12, you'll be talking close to 5.2 billion. We are just capturing 2 billion, 2.1. And I believe a time has come, either for the parliament to sit back and ask themselves, what law, how did they pass the Payment and Service Act without looking at compliance with foreign exchange aspect? And I believe this should be discussed, dispassionate of politics, and so that we country can benefit. Because, my brother, if we get this 5 billion, do you know we don't need the IMF money? We don't need it. And don't forget, more people have migrated into this jurisdiction. Next year, I'm sure we're going to get about 9 billion. And if these people are going to withhold about $9 billion, and the banks are going to go to, there is nothing to write home about. So I think it is not too late. The Ministry of Finance, the Bank of Ghana, and the Parliament, they should all be involved so that we can be tracing and capturing the foreign exchange which is being held by other institutions.
Now, the Chief Executive of Strategic Communications Africa, Esther Koba, is calling for a holistic leadership approach to champion socio-economic development. According to her, effective leadership coupled with an inclusive approach to governance will be a game changer in the development of the country. She spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the 30th anniversary of Ghana's premier communications and reputation company, Stratcom.
Public relations and communications have been driven largely by the changes in technology and society. As these forces continue to shape the way we communicate, public relations is expected to evolve and adapt to meet the changing needs of organizations. In Ghana, One of the organizations that has pioneered innovation and championed excellence in this space is Stratcom Africa. On the occasion of its 30th anniversary, Chief Executive of Strategic Communications Africa, Esther Koba, called for the use of effective PR to champion socio-economic development.
Understanding the realities of the people whose socioeconomic circumstances we want to impact is key. Recognizing the context in which they are operating, whether it's the political context, the social context, etc., the technological context, we need to analyze. But what it is that if you don't take care as a leader, because you are named a leader, you automatically feel you have the solutions. A lot of the times, leaders fail because they fail to see solutions in the people they lead.
Madam Esther Koba shares the Stratcom story.
It's been exciting, difficult at times, but you don't grow in comfort. When there's discomfort, you're pushed to grow. And so we've used our discomfort to grow where there have been challenges. And where we have succeeded, we have not rested on our oars. We have allowed the success to encourage us to do even more.
And that's it for business for now. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more business stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. The news continues after this break.
And that's how we wrap up News Desk. For more news, please log on to My Joy Online. Some top stories there. President Akufo-Addo orders Finance Ministry to release 1.5 billion cedis bailout to banking sector cleanup victims. We'll tell you more about that at 12 p.m. when my colleague Aisha Ibrahim comes your way with Jen today. My name is Faustina Safo. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs.